A spark in the void. The Grand Convergence Station hung like a glittering jewel in the void, a symbol of diplomacy, neutrality, and galactic unity. It was here that humanity had chosen to extend its hand once again in good faith. Captain Myra Dalton adjusted her collar and stepped off the shuttle, boots clicking against the polished deck. Behind her, Dr. Julian Reyes, Earth's senior envoy, carried the olive branch. A career diplomat, Reyes had spent the better part of 2 decades navigating the cultural minefields of alien negotiations. His calm presence had diffused more than one incident. They were met by the Thal-Ka delegation, towering reptilian bipeds with chitinous armor fused into their ceremonial robes. Their leader, Ambassador Vor, inclined his head with the barest nod. "You are late," he said without preamble. Myra bit back a retort. Reyes, ever composed, offered a warm smile. "Apologies." There was a plasma surge on the approach vector. Vor snorted. "Human tech. Still crude." The meeting began in one of the station's diplomatic chambers. The discussion turned quickly to border skirmishes in Sector Delta 4, where a Thal-Ka patrol had allegedly repelled a human science vessel investigating an unclaimed system. Earth's position was firm but restrained. The Thal-Ka had no jurisdiction there. Reyes proposed a neutral inspection. What happened next would be debated for years. Without warning, a Thal-Ka guard stepped forward, pulled a plasma sidearm, and shot Dr. Reyes in the chest. The silence afterward was unnatural. Myra dropped to her knees beside the envoy, trying to stop the bleeding, but she knew from the Bane pattern it was fatal. Reyes gasped once, eyes wide with disbelief, and went still. Chaos followed. Myra drew her sidearm, backing toward the exit as Thal-Ka security swarmed in, barking orders in their guttural tongue. But they weren't disarming their own. They weren't apologizing. They were smirking. Ambassador Vor folded his arms. He reached for a weapon. He lied with calculated ease. "You're insane," Myra hissed. He was unarmed. The alien shrugged. "It was a misunderstanding. Regrettable. We suggest Earth let it pass, for the sake of peace." Myra's voice was ice. "You just killed a human diplomat on neutral ground. And Earth will do what?" Vor sneered. "File a protest." She didn't answer. She just stayed, memoizing every face in that room. Back aboard the UEN Resolute, Myra stood on the bridge, blood still on her sleeves. The ship broke orbit, returning to Earth space without firing a shot. The official statement from Earth was simple. "We are reviewing the incident. No further comment at this time." The galaxy moved on, but Myra knew better. Humanity was silent, not because it was afraid, because it was thinking. And when humanity thinks, it remembers. The silence before the storm. 3 days after Dr. Reyes' death, Earth went quiet. Not diplomatically quiet. Not in the usual sternly worded letter to the Galactic Council kind of way. No, this was the kind of silence that felt like the moment just before a warship fires. No interviews. No public outrage. Just silence. Ambassador Vor returned to the Thal-Ka homeworld, triumphant. His message to the Dominion Senate was clear. Humanity was soft, predictable, bound by protocols and treaties. They would send envoys, maybe cut a trade agreement, but they wouldn't strike. Not over one life. He wasn't alone in that belief. Galactic news streams buzzed with speculation. Earth recoils, avoids escalation, one headline read. Another questioned, was humanity's diplomatic reach too bold? But back on Earth, no one was talking to reporters, not even to allies. Inside a classified war room beneath Geneva, Captain Myra Dalton stood among Earth's military elite. Holographic stars hovered over the table, Thal-Ka territory marked in red. The silence there wasn't fear. It was focus. Admiral Kenji Rao, Supreme Commander of United Earth Defense, tapped the system overlay. "They think we'll file complaints." Myra crossed her arms. "They're used to species who fear open war. They've never dealt with species who perfected it." Across the galaxy, human embassies quietly shuttered. Civilian ships recalled. Trade delegations pulled. Earth's seat at the Galactic Council remained physically empty, though technically still held. No announcement was made, but the message was clear. Earth was done talking. In orbit, shipyards doubled their output. Military AI constructs rerouted convoys and began uploading new protocols. Fleets once scattered across human space vanished from public records. Stealth technologies went active. Encryption keys were rotated. On Luna, orbital cannons previously in mothballs hummed to life. And still, nothing was said. Aboard the UEN Resolute, Myra watched the preparations unfold. It wasn't rage that drove her now. It was purpose. Dr. Reyes had believed in diplomacy, in restraint, but even he had understood the stakes. You couldn't allow blood to go unanswered. When the fleet was ready, when the last systems were green, Earth would act, not with vengeance, but with clarity. This wasn't about retribution. It was about consequences. On the fourth day, Earth broadcast a single internal message to all colonies, outposts, and vessels. Stand by for Directive Iron Sky. Do not engage without orders. Maintain radio silence. Earth remembers. The galaxy interpreted the message as cryptic and confusing. It wasn't. It was a warning. The kind of warning you only get once. And as stars turned silently in the black, the species of the galaxy began to feel something they hadn't felt toward humanity in decades. Not pity, not curiosity, but dread. Shock and awe. At exactly 0300 UTC, without declaration or preamble, Earth struck. Across Thalkei-controlled space, 13 military installations blinked out within 90 seconds. Orbital defense rings disintegrated under kinetic rods traveling at Mach 20. Communications arrays melted under precision energy lances. No cities were touched. No civilians harmed. But every weapon the Thalkei trusted was gone. Aboard the UEN Resolute, Captain Myra Dalton stood on the bridge as her strike group decloaked above the Thalkei stronghold in the Varon system. Their target, the outpost housing Commander Seth Varkol, the officer who pulled the trigger on Dr. Reyes. Maintain target lock. No fire unless authorized, Myra ordered. The Thalkei fleet scrambled. Battleships powered up, shields flickering into place. But Earth's cyber warfare teams were already inside their systems. Engines stalled. Targeting systems glitched. Some ships lost gravity and spun uselessly, crew scrambling in zero-G. The comms officer turned. They are hailing us. Let them sweat. 30 seconds later, Myra opened the channel. Varon Station's commander, a crimson-scaled Thalkei with frantic eyes, appeared. You're violating. No, we're correcting, Myra said coolly. Send Commander Varkol to the airlock. Unarmed. Now. He is under our protection. You lost that privilege the moment he murdered our diplomat, Myra replied. This is not revenge. This is justice. You have 5 minutes. The line cut. Below, Earth's ships hung in silent orbit. Not a shot fired since the initial strike. They didn't need to. The message was written in the wreckage. On the 5th minute, an escape pod launched from the station. Inside, Commander Varkol, bound, terrified. As the pod was secured aboard the Resolute, Myra stood in the hangar watching as Marines pulled the alien murderer from the capsule. He hissed, defiant. You wouldn't have dared this a cycle ago. You made a mistake, Myra said, stepping forward. You thought we were still learning how to be part of your galaxy. We're not. He spat at her feet. She didn't flinch. You thought we'd just protest. That we'd beg. That's what you've seen from others. But humans aren't others. You spilled one of ours. And now, she added coldly, the galaxy will remember what that costs. From orbit, Earth broadcast a message, unencrypted, galaxy-wide. Earth will not harm civilians. We do not seek conquest. But when diplomacy is met with blood, silence is not surrender. One human life was taken. This was the answer. Consider it restrained. The signal ended. Across the stars, governments scrambled. Treaties were re-examined. Fleets were repositioned. And the Thalkei Dominion, once feared, now looked very, very alone. Myra stared out the viewport as the fleet jumped to slip space. No cheers. No celebration. Just quiet purpose. Because Earth had only needed one strike to make its point. And the galaxy had heard it loud and clear. The galaxy reconsiders. It took the Thalkei Dominion 72 hours to surrender their claim of diplomatic immunity for Commander Varkol. It took the rest of the galaxy far less time to realize that humanity was no longer just a new face at the table. It was a force to reckon with. In the wake of Earth's strike, a wave of silence rolled through galactic politics. Species that had once dismissed humanity as fragile or idealistic now reviewed every treaty and interaction they'd ever had with them. News streams overflowed with analysis, speculation, and shock. No civilian casualties. Every target military. Perfect execution, zero collateral. The most common phrase repeated in hushed tones across alien circles was, "They planned this." And they had. On the Thalkei homeworld, the Dominion Senate held emergency meetings. Vor, the ambassador who had once sneered at Earth's restraint, was quietly removed from public service. His final statement, leaked by a translator drone, read simply, "We underestimated them. We all did." In orbit over Earth, the UN Resolute returned in silence. Myra Dalton stepped off the shuttle without fanfare. Her uniform was still crisp, her eyes tired but unshaken. At Dr. Julian Reyes's memorial, world leaders and citizens gathered in solemn respect. His final words, captured by Myra's bodycam, played once, then never again. Peace is not weakness. It's a choice. But choice ends when blood is spilled. His gravestone stood on a quiet hillside outside Geneva, marked with 6 simple words. One life. A message to stars. Myra stood alone beside it, watching the wind move through the grass. She didn't feel victory. She felt resolution. Behind her, Admiral Ao approached quietly. "The Galactic Council has called an emergency summit. They're inviting us back." Myra didn't look away from the stone. "And do we go?" Ao shrugged. "We already made our statement." She nodded. "Then let's make sure they never forget it." At the summit, Earth's envoy delivered a single address. It wasn't long. It wasn't boastful. It was Myra Dalton, standing calmly before hundreds of species, stating what needed to be said. "We are not conquerors. We are not tyrants. But we are human. And if you kill one of ours again, just one, we will not come with apologies. We will come with fire. And we will leave no doubt behind." There was no applause. Just silence. A new kind of silence. One that said the galaxy had finally understood something old and powerful. Earth was not the most advanced. Earth was not the strongest. But Earth remembered. And when Earth remembers, the stars listen.